Hey everyone, so this is the 2000 subscriber special. It's a little bit delayed, I apologize for that, but as promised, this is a personal finance video and it's about the different lines of saving for retirement that I use, and hopefully some of this will help you out in your personal finance goals. I'll explain what each line is and the order in which I save, and if you get a little bit of learning out of this, maybe you can adjust it to fit your own lifestyle as well. Now, fair warning first, a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. Like 90+% of videos I have on here are not financial advice, and the rest is just like playing around. It's about my own strategy, and if you want to template off of it, that's up to you. Most probably won't, especially since I tend to be quite conservative with my money, even for my age, and many would prefer to put more into crypto or something like that. I also will not confirm nor deny that I have any of these or are using any of these at any time, so please don't ask me in the comment section. I'm not about flaunting my net worth, I'm about helping others save. Also, this is money going in, not money going out. I'll talk about that order toward the end because it's going to be a lot shorter. This is going to be very text heavy, I'm just going to leave that warning as well, so I'll try to throw in some graphics where I can, but here we go. Also, one more short thing, I should mention that this is for people living in the United States only. If you live in another country, as I'm getting an increasing international audience, please check, and I might even do one for like other countries down the line, but please check beforehand with your, with the programs in your country before finding out what to do. But some of these will be foreign to you, and if you are not from the US or you're not planning to move to the US, then you can go ahead and skip this video. I'll put up another video here that you can watch, the previous video from last Wednesday. I'll start line 1 with good old cash, and this is everyone's starting line. This is putting money in a checking account with money that I can easily withdraw and deposit at any time. This is where I would place my paycheck money in first before moving on to other things. I will usually leave about 2 to 4 weeks worth of my budget in this checking account, but I make sure regardless of my expenses I have minimum $1,000 in it that I can take out to use in a pinch. And just about everyone should have a checking account somewhere that offers no fees regardless of minimum. I use Ally Bank for this, but there are plenty of others available as well that are probably even better, at least for right now. Just be sure when looking for a checking account that they have no minimum required balances. Locally, I know Fifth Third Bank is one of the few brick and mortar places that do this, but they have fees for just about everything else except a debit card, I believe, but it is better than most of the other brick and mortar banks. Don't mind using checks, I rarely use them myself. The money should just be there for the first line of defense in case of an emergency. Just have a debit card ready, of course. Now, once I've gotten to this point, I will start using any additional cash to pay off any high interest rate debts. I'd say something about double-digit interest rates like credit cards, personal loans, and so on. If it's a lot of money, say more than a paycheck would be able to handle, I'll at least try to pay off more than the minimum, and then at the same time save a little into line 2, which is a savings account. And most of the time you're going to use the same bank, especially if that bank is offering a good yield. At this point, as of May 2024, what counts as a good yield, I think, is at least 4%. Now, you're probably asking me after line 1 why only 2 to 4 weeks and not 3 to 6 months like all the other YouTubers are. And if I were in a conversation with you, I'd say, well, let me finish, because this is where that remaining amount will go into. I try to save up 3 to 6 months of savings in this savings account that I can take out once a month and transfer to my checking account for easier access. Part of the reason I do this is because there used to be for the longest time a 6 transaction withdrawal per month limit on savings accounts. Now, the Federal Reserve did remove this requirement in 2020, but many banks do enforce a 6 transaction limit. And of course, a lot of it depends on the bank. Ask your bank if they have this transaction limit. Then you could probably interchange a savings and checking account if you want. Plus, the rules can change at any time, so it still makes savings accounts slightly less flexible than checking. And in my opinion, should be used as the next line of defense after the checking runs out. Now, the next couple lines, 3 and 4, you'll be able to do coinciding if you have a 9-to-5 job with lines 1 and 2. So just letting you know, but they should be a little bit lower priority than getting that emergency savings in. Now, the next 2 lines, 3 and 4, can be done at the same time as 1 and 2, especially since they will probably use up so little of a paycheck. Line 3 is contributing to my company's 401k up to the price match. The reason? It's free money. Now, if you're a freelancer, there is a self-employed 401k, but since you're going to be responsible for both your employee and employer contributions, you might move this further down on the list. But for those with 9 to 5s with the option to get said price match, this is the first place I'd put any additional savings into. Most jobs offer some kind of tiered system to get you around 3% of your yearly salary on average in free money. This can be done with full match up to 3% or half match up to 6% or some kind of tiered system. The really good ones will go 4 to 6 of your yearly salary, but in most jobs I've heard from 3 is the standard. If you don't have any good low-cost index funds to put in, you might not want to do much more with your 401k till much later though, but whatever the max price match is, say half match up to 6%, put in 6% and so on. One thing I will say though is sometimes they will require you to stay at your job for a number of years before they vest all of their price match in. So I'm just going to give you fair warning to take a look at that beforehand and see if you're going to stay there long term. They should not apply to you, but if you're only going to be staying there for X number of years, check to see how much is going to be vested and count that towards the price match only. So for example, if you have a 50% 50% vesting, I should say, with a 3% price match, then it's only a 1.5% price match for that year if you're only going to stay for that many years. So yeah, just a warning on vesting there. Line 4 is my HSA up to my annual deductible. And again, there's a caveat to this, and that is you need to be in a high deductible health plan in order to qualify for being in an HSA, and it might not be good for those who might have consistent medical issues. For those in which it does work, putting your HSA up to your annual deductible is one of the big tax-advantaged accounts. 401ks are also tax-advantaged, but a lot of it is dependent on if you put it into a traditional 401k, which exempts you from taxes now and makes you pay later. And a Roth 401k does the opposite, which makes you pay the taxes now so you don't have to pay later. I'd put enough so in cash I have 1 year deductible that isn't invested on my HSA, and the rest can go to my HSA. It also can be used for medical purposes at any time, and there are additional rules to withdraw, but we'll get to those later. What makes HSA such a great tool in general is the triple tax protection, exempting you from taxes in your paycheck, exempting you from taxes in your medical expenses, and exempting you from taxes withdrawing when you turn 59 and a half, and it basically becomes another Roth 401k or Roth IRA. Not a bad deal at all. Now from here, I actually differ a bit from conventional advice, and I'll explain on a personal level. The next line is paying down my mortgage. Now the main reason for this is, one, I have a high interest rate on my mortgage, above 7%, and current interest rates are actually a little higher than what I got, so we're not going to be able to refinance anytime soon. Paying down the house has become a bit of a priority for me because of this. Now, if you're paying a low interest mortgage or your payment is small, like less than 25% of your paycheck after all deduction, this may be a much lower priority for you. If you have a bit of a safety net, relying on friends and family for something, this might also be a lower priority for you. Even if we were in a bear market so that there's more upside to getting into the stock market, this would also be a much lower priority. But for us, until a refinance is in order, I'm going to be putting most of my money that I make into this, basically, most of what I save. I'm even going to lower my HSA contributions if need be to pay it down. Retirement becomes a lot easier without a massive mortgage payment hanging over your head, and you're looking at your budget and it's only like $1,600 a month instead of $3,500 a month, you know? Back to conventional wisdom, line 5 is maxing out the HSA. Depending on your deductible, this might not be that much more at all, and for some it might be a lot more. To qualify as a high deductible health plan for 2024, a plan must have a deductible of at least $1,600 for an individual plan and $3,200 for a family plan, with an out-of-pocket limit of no more than $8,050 for an individual plan and $16,100 for a family, and only covers non-preventative services before the deductible is met. The contribution limit for 2024 for an HSA is $4,150 for an individual and $8,300 for a family. Let's assume we're not looking at dental here. That could mean paying as much as an extra $5,100 a year for a family HSA plan or already maxing out an individual one because the individual deductible is like $8,000 or something. That is a crazy deductible, though. Pretty sure healthcare.gov might do better than... Oh my, this is for household income? Our household income, even with a credit? No wonder it's getting tough out there. Line 6 is the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is a good after-tax tool that in most cases you pretty much can do whatever you want with the money since you've already paid taxes on it. Sometimes some might prefer the Roth IRA for investing to the HSA because it gives them more freedom with their money even if there isn't as many benefits. They could throw their Roth IRA into a crypto if they want with the right platform, whereas many times HSA investment areas are also a lot more restrictive. I pay the taxes up front and usually coming out of the money I earn from my paycheck. At 59.5, it's all tax-free. Not quite the same tax benefits as an HSA, as I said, but still great overall. 2024's restrictions for a Roth IRA are $7,000 for those under 50 and $8,000 for those 50 and over. There's also an income limit where you have to make less than $161,000 if you're single and $240,000 if married to contribute to a Roth IRA in full. And then I think there's about $10,000 of it, which is like a partial, like stepping down in a way that you're allowed to contribute to it. But then I believe once you've hit past that $10,000 point, you can't contribute at all. Now, line 7 is maxing out the 401k. The last of the tax-advantaged accounts that I contribute to after this is the 401k. And yes, we've talked about this with Price Match. Now we're just going to max it out. And the contributions for this one is a doozy. In 2024, the contribution limit is $23,000 if you're under 50 and $30,500 if you're over 50. If you have a self-employed 401k, this is where you'd want to start contributing to it, because you would be able to contribute an additional up to 25% of your annual compensation. And if you want more information on this, I'll link you to an article from Fidelity about the self-employed 401k. The only way I wouldn't do any of this is if my 401k is so restrictive that I can't even get a low-cost target index fund. Thankfully, my job does allow me that option. If you're seeing expense ratios of at least 0.2% or higher, though, and nothing else, you probably might want to just skip this option. Line 8 are U.S. government Class I savings bonds. I know some of you will be surprised to see I bonds this far down the list, but part of the reason is because there's so much you can do with tax-advantaged retirement accounts, saving up a combined almost $40,000 between them, almost $50,000 if you're over 50. Now, something like an I bond does tend to move down, and also the interest rates of savings accounts are a lot better. Now, there are two caveats to this. If inflation ever hits above 7%, or if the fixed rate is higher than their historical average of around 1%, because that bonus fixed rate gets applied to all future rates, I'd move this up in priority to between the HSA deductible and the mortgage. This is guarantee-free money at that point, and letting it sit even for a little over a year to get that interest payment is a good rate to have. However, we've only had that kind of inflation for like one 6-month period in the last 5 to 10 years or so. And I even did a video on it. Was a good investment then, not so much now. And only good for getting those fixed rate bonuses if you're looking to find a place to save. I would also stop putting money into this line once I've hit around 1 year of expenses. It is just cash after all and can be withdrawn. And as I put more into this, I can require less from my savings account. Eventually, when I've hit my max here, I could only have as little as 1 month in my savings account, since it will take me far less than a month to withdraw my I bonds. And it might even be a good idea to move some of my savings account to my I bonds once I feel secure enough in my job to that point, and the interest rate of the I bonds is higher than a savings account, which right now it's actually pretty close. But I'm keeping it kind of a little bit further down in priority for now anyway. And finally, line 9 is a brokerage account. Once I've saved through the rest and I've put down every single line and maxed it out accordingly, now it's time to use a taxable brokerage account. Usually I'll follow the same patterns most others do and throw it into ETFs with a small sliver of the money getting put into crypto and only to Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're talking 1 or 2% tops. I'll have an even smaller amount of Dogecoin for fun as well. Now, if you're saving for your kids' college, there are other things you might want to do before this that are a little bit higher priority, like a 529 plan, or basically I'd put that somewhere around line 5, I'd say. Now, as for money going out, the priority changes a little bit. Assuming that I do own everything here, the way that the money will come out is as follows when needed. Priority starts the same with the checking account going first, followed by the savings account. Once the savings account runs dry, I will withdraw from the I-bonds next, then the brokerage account. Once the brokerage account depletes, if I'm still going cash flow negative with whatever jobs I'm working to pay the bills in the meantime, I'll start withdrawing from contributions from my Roth IRA next, and then from there, I'd look at the rules over hardship withdrawals and determine the next best move and where to withdraw from. Either the remaining Roth IRA, 401k, or the HSA next, and you will see the hardship requirements that you can get to be able to withdraw without having to pay a penalty. Hopefully, though, it never gets to that point. Now, hopefully this helps show how I set up a savings plan for myself, and maybe with a bit of research you can find what's best for you. Like this video if you like it, comment if you think I'm missing anything other than the 529, 403b, backdoor Roth, or SEP IRA plans. Those are kind of special cases for another time. And don't forget to subscribe to Beer Money Engine, and go check out this video here on the left. I'll see you all next time.